Eliot Engel over in New York. He has a primary opponent, and that's the only reason he cares, apparently. Here's something. Here's a video taken recently. Now I'm grabbing this from Alexis Edelstein, which cordial shout out to Alexis. Unfortunately, Alexis has a very weird record over at Get Your News On with Ron. Alexis has the record for the shortest appearance ever on this show. We had Alexis on a little while ago. It was when Graham Elwood was on the show too, and there was a tech issue where we couldn't hear Alexis. It was an unfortunate situation. The way I use StreamYard, and StreamYard can be a little finicky sometimes with phones. When someone's using their phone, results have been very mixed. And Alexis, unfortunately, was having an issue with his laptop when I wanted to have him on the show. So phone was the only option he had. And we were talking ahead of time, and I'm like, gee, phone, it can be hit or miss, but we'll try. And unfortunately, it was a miss. He couldn't hear me at all. I could hear him just fine, but he couldn't hear me no matter what he did. And so it was a very short appearance. We tried 2 different times. Yeah, that's a bummer. But anyway, so hopefully when it is appropriate, we will have him on again. But he shares this. So check this out. Check out this video. This is Democratic Representative Engel here.
And it's just too many folks here. I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care. Say that again? I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care. Don't do that to me.
He's saying if I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care. For anyone who's not sure what he said is if I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care. Now let's go to the article about this. So New York Times published a piece about this. So this was at an event at his district with everything that's going on. With Black Lives Matter. And this is that's what he had to say about it. So here's a report from the New York Times. Engel's hot mic moment. Eliot Engel's hot mic moment. If I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care. Mr. Engel, a Democratic congressman from New York, is facing a primary challenge and has been criticized for staying in Washington during the pandemic. He made the remark at an event after returning to the Bronx. Shortly before the news conference began. So this happened on Tuesday at a Bronx news conference about local vandalism. That's the verbiage from the article, local vandalism. More like people are protesting because society has reached its breaking point. That's what's really going on. People are protesting because society has reached its breaking point. And, it's like that famous meme says, people like to say, well, it's unfortunate that a Black person was murdered, but we got to stop this destruction of property and this looting. Let's flip that around. You can find that meme on the internet. It's been circulated everywhere. It's unfortunate that some property got damaged and looting's happening, but we got to stop the systemic murder of Black people by police. That's what we need to stop. That's where the real outrage is. The real outrage should be at the system that keeps murdering unarmed Black people, and the system that has pushed people to the point of desperation where they're looting for things that they need because we're in a pandemic and the government has forgotten its people. That's where the anger should be. So anyway, but shortly before the news conference began, the hot mic was on, and Mr. Engel pressed his case. Now here's what the person told him. This was the Ruben Diaz, who is the Bronx Borough president and organizer of the event, ran through the list of planned speakers to the assembled politicians. And he said to Mr. Engel, I cannot have all the electeds talk because we'll never get out of here. And his response was, if I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care. He said that to the person who's in the community organizing this event, trying to be there for the community, trying to be a rock for the community. And he says that. He's been hanging out in Washington, doing whatever. And he says to that person, if I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care. Well, guess what? Here's a little something about his primary opponent. He had 2 primary opponents, but the one primary opponent, because they're both progressives, the other primary opponent dropped out to endorse this person. I guess this person was making more strides in the race. So they dropped out and endorsed this person. So now this is the main opponent, Jamal Bowman, or Bauman. I might be mispronouncing the name, but progressive foreign policy, Medicare for all, justice reform, immigrant rights, women's rights, the Green New Deal. Let's look at some of his endorsements. Democracy for America, Working Families, Justice Democrats, New York Progressive Action Network, Food and Water Action, Women for Justice, Community Voices, Sunrise Movement, Council of School Supervisors, another Sunrise Movement both nationally and Sunrise Movement in New York City, North Bronx Racial Justice, the University of Albany Young Democratic Socialists of America, Cynthia Nixon, Zephyr Teachout, Dr. Rosa Rivera McCutcheon, Tiffany Cabin, Naomi Klein, Jermaine Williams. All right, I'm not going to read like every single thing, but you guys get the idea. So that's his primary opponent. That's Engel's primary opponent, Jamal Bowman. And I have a feeling Jamal Bowman does care about the district. I have a feeling he does care about the district. Hot mic moment. Gotta love those hot mic moments.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together